Back in 2007, Hitman was at its peak, after having released 4 games, with the latest still being considered as the best game of the franchise by many. But what if I told you that the same year, there was another license taking inspiration from Hitman's earlier games with the goal of delivering a more hardcore experience? I'm talking about the Death to Spies license. When starting the game, we have the choice between 2 missions, Training or Cannibal, which is the real first mission of the game. Training is simply there to teach players how to play the game, and it is pretty important that they included it, because Death to Spies isn't an easy game. It is clunky, and punishes heavily the player for every mistake they make. Death to Spies is the kind of game where saving often is almost mandatory, if you do not want to spend dozens of hours on each mission. And trust me, I'm not exaggerating. We'll have plenty of time to discuss that as we go through each level. Training is a pretty straightforward mission. We'll be simply tasked of doing what we're told, while learning the basics. It is also the only mission in the game that I didn't end, due to that bug. That bug happened 2 minutes before I end that mission, so it is indeed pretty frustrating. But we are not gonna talk about that mission anyway. Why? Because we'll talk about the game mechanics as we play throughout the game, and outside of that, the training mission doesn't offer much. So instead, we'll head straight to the first mission of the game. Before every mission, we'll be granted a cutscene. To make it short, the character we'll play as, Semyon Strogoff, was a spy and assassin that worked for the Russian army in the counterintelligence division called SMERSH, and participated in special operations during the period of 1943 to 1946. The cutscenes we'll see take place in 1951. The head of SMERSH, Viktor Abakumov, has been arrested. We'll be interrogated about our missions under his command during the whole game. Basically, each cutscenes of the game will be continued talk between Semyon Strogoff and the Lieutenant Colonel Yashminov about the special operations Semyon led from 1943 to 1946. The reason why I'm telling you that, instead of simply showing you every cutscenes, is simply because we won't watch most of them. Death to Spies has long cutscenes, where nothing at all happens. If I were to show them all, it will make the video 25 minutes longer, without providing much. This wouldn't be pleasant for you, so I decided against it. I'll leave a link in the description leading to a video showing all of them, in case you desire to watch them. Before the mission starts, we'll have a briefing. In this case, we have to infiltrate the base, kidnap an officer, and steal documents. We'll then pick our equipment. There are plenty of choices, but only a few really effective ones. Let me show you. In Death to Spies, we'll be able to carry a two-handed weapon and a pistol at all times. Never more than that, at least when we choose our equipment. We can sort of pick up pistols we find on dead enemies and store them in a backpack. But that's not something we're going to do, because only a few weapons in Death to Spies actually have a silencer, and we won't find any of those on the field. After all, it makes sense. We're facing random German soldiers. Why would they put a silencer on their gun? Most of them simply have a basic weapon, depending on their rank. Another thing to keep in mind, and why two-handed weapons, while not useless, will not be as useful as one might think, is that carrying a Russian rifle in German uniform will simply make us extremely suspicious and easier to recognize. Obviously, while we can decide to pick up a German two-handed weapon to start the mission, none of these have a silencer. For balancing purpose, I suppose. But weapons aren't the only thing that could make us suspicious. A Russian backpack would also ruin our disguise. So until we reach a mission in which we can start with a German backpack, we better avoid them, if we can. Outside of guns, there are a few other things that are also quite useful there, such as a choke cord, knife, chloroform, and a few others. Semyon will need everything at his disposal to succeed. Each tool can be strong, depending on the situation, but also has drawbacks. Nothing escaped at all. We'll talk about everything as we progress throughout the missions. Now, there are no missions in this game that anybody would consider easy, but the first one is definitely the most straightforward, outside of training obviously, because it is actually huge. and making sound doesn't automatically mean that we're dead. I feel like I have to explain properly why silencers and making sound is that big of a deal with this game. Let me show you what happened when you play it Clint Eastwood style. Many things make gunfights pretty hard, if not impossible to win. First of all, Semyon isn't some kind of superhuman. He has roughly the same health as the enemies, which make it easy for enemies to kill us in a few seconds if they aim well. Then, obviously the game is clunky. Changing weapon is slow, reloading before your magazine is empty make you lose every bullet left, although it is possible to grab the magazine from the floor to use the remaining bullets later. Basically, every single enemy is a danger for us. One well-aimed bullet, and we're toast. Now that we've talked about that, we can come back to the first mission. We'll be starting out in the wild, but very quickly, we'll have an opportunity. But it takes some skill to seize it. There are 2 guards there. They have a pattern that leaves us a window of approximately 30 seconds to act. At first glance, it might seem easy. I take my gun out and dig a bullet in both their skulls. But that unfortunately won't be possible. Death to Spies doesn't allow us to put on costumes if there is blood or holes in them. For example, if I just killed someone with a gun, grenades, or knife, it will simply ruin the costume. There are 2 weapons that keep a costume intact, choke rope and chloroform. One keeps our target alive, so we best use it for civilians. The other kills it. Death to Spies also play heavily around the complicated movement system. First of all, we can jump, walk, run, and climb over some obstacles, which is useful to move around the map. We also have 4 different stances: standing, crouching, crawling, and sneaking. Standing is only ever useful when we have a disguise, as this stance is way too easy to spot otherwise. Crouching is probably the stance we'll use the most when we do not have to be seen. It is relatively quick, allows us to use our weapons, make less noise, and is a tad bit harder to spot than standing. Crawling is the stance we'll use the most when passing by guards patrol, as it is hard to spot and does really little noise. But the problem is that the movements are limited and using a weapon in this stance is difficult. It's also impossible to use equipment, such as chloroform or choke rope, while using this stance. And finally, the sneaking stance, the most silent stance of them all. Unfortunately, while that stance has a huge advantage, it also has a few inconveniences. It is extremely easy to see, and it is also extremely slow to move in that stance. It kinda reminds me of that silent stance in Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. Now, back to grab our first disguise. We'll kill the first soldier, and punch the second one to grab his disguise. Punches tend to be loud. Doing that in the middle of a crowd will bring unwanted attention. But we're in the wild, so we're good. They also cannot be used against an enemy that grabbed his gun. So I was quite lucky there, as his animation to equip his gun was 95% done. Now that we have that disguise, things will become much easier for us. Most enemies will not bother us, but some of them, like the head of that patrol, still can see through our disguise, and we therefore have to avoid him. In case you wonder why my disguise is different from before, I just played Russian roulette. Lucky for me, he missed. But when they do not miss, it's half for health points gone, like there. Once that patrol is passed, stealthily or less, we'll reach a fortified bunker with many enemies around. Our objective here is simply to disguise ourselves as a driver and drive a truck inside the camp to infiltrate it. Yes, Death to Spies features the possibility to drive vehicles, and while it isn't going to be that often, it still remains pretty cool. We are now entering the camp. You can probably see that there are a few areas on the map with the number 3 tagged on them. Since maps in this game tend to be big, the game offers some help with the objectives. The number 3 in this case simply means that these areas might be useful for Objective 3, which is to kidnap the Sturmbannführer Dietrich Meltzer. And that's exactly what we're gonna do now. Dietrich, let's call him that, has a bodyguard following him closely. Luckily, one of the tagged area is perfect to deal with both of them. But first, we have to take care of these two guys standing there. We'll then move their body and drop them into that box. There are two ways to drop bodies in this game. A nice way and a not so nice way. We had to use the not so nice way to fit them in the box, unfortunately. Now, time to wait for our target. I was actually able to get him in another area before, but it mostly succeeded due to a bug. See here, I punch him and his bodyguard simply leave him like, tough luck pal, have fun in the gulags. So I simply reloaded to do it properly. We unfortunately have only one chloroform left, which means that the bodyguard will have it rough. We'll throw our knife in his back to get rid of him, then subdue Dietrich. We'll hide the bodyguard with the others, for a nice surprise when they wake up. I'm obviously kidding, enemies here never wake up, and there is no difference between an enemy whether he is stunned, asleep, or killed, gameplay-wise. Outside of now, as I have to kidnap Dietrich for an objective, so it's better if I kidnap him without killing him first, especially since killing him will fail the mission. Let's now complete the other objective. Those files are stashed in one of the main building's office. Obviously, a high-ranking outfit will be necessary to be deemed worthy of even walking these tiles. But we got this. We simply have to wait till the guard leave to open the stash and take the documents. We only have 4 small things left to do now. Come back to our truck, drive it in front of the building where Dietrich is currently taking a nap, load him in, and leave this camp. Our rating for this mission will be Saboteur. Quite fitting that combat is that high, since I've killed a bunch of people, but since it wasn't useful to talk about them, I prefer to keep that a secret from you. Unlike Hitman, where killing any target other than our objective is a death sentence for max rank, Death to Spies doesn't work in the same way. Killing people isn't forbidden in the slightest. It is actually even mandatory in most missions to progress. I guess the difference is in their profession. One is a spy, the other is a hired killer. For the second mission, we'll be tasked to meet a messenger and collect documents. Alright guys, fun is over. That mission is one of the hardest in the game and rely heavily on stealth to succeed. We'll have to meet a messenger in a city that has more guards in it than Fort Knox itself. Every single street is patrolled by guards, and to reach that messenger, we'll need to do some Soviet mathematics. Too bad for us, windows aren't part of our armament, but a knife and a revolver should do the trick. More seriously, this map is a big square, and we'll be tasked to do different things at different sides of it. Obviously, these things are going to be on the opposite of where we start. Our biggest problem, at first, will be to find a costume. Almost every enemy is in a group of 3, and taking care of 3 people without making sounds and making sure that one of them is killed up close to take his disguise isn't really easy. Our best bet is on this side of the map. That soldier patrol around the house, and therefore sometimes come to a corner where nobody can see him. We'll get up close and personal with him at that moment. There is also another opportunity close by, but a much harder one. There is a house with 2 soldiers that for a few seconds leave each other, and a high-ranking officer in another room. The high-ranking officer costume is obviously tempting, but it requires to be very quick to succeed. It also requires to not get stuck in the environment, but I guess it's too late for that. No way to choke him, because he's sitting on that barrel, and the game simply won't allow us to do it. We'll do it the old way. Not exactly what I would call clean, but we've done it. Let's grab his outfit and run toward our objective. In Death to Spies, having a disguise doesn't mean that we're allowed to go wherever we want. You probably see the green and red triangles on the map. Well, green ones cannot see through our disguise, but red ones can. There are also grey triangles and black dots. Those are civilians and dead people, respectively. You now probably realize that even with that outfit, there is still a bucket load of enemies that can screw us. There really isn't any magic trick in this game, outside of knowing a mission perfectly. Still, we have done the hardest part of the mission, because in every mission, finding the first disguise will always be the hardest part. Once that part is done, the rest becomes much easier. We'll now reach the messenger's house, which is in the middle of the map, but we've got a problem. Some old woman tells us that the messenger is being detained by the enemy. Our objective has changed. We now have to free him, and for that, violence will be necessary. At first glance, he's in deep trouble, but actually not so much. There are only 2 guards with him, and we'll dispose of them pretty easily. Upon setting him free, we learn that he doesn't have any more the layouts we came here to find. Instead, Paul Weber, a high-ranking officer of the SS, have them. Paul Weber's security is so tight that even bedbugs need an ID in order to pass. The only good thing for us is that his bodyguard is currently sleeping on the couch, and therefore won't be very difficult to deal with. The timing here is again relatively tight. One mistake is enough for us to fail everything. We'll wait until he enters the room and strike swiftly. Another soldier will have to be killed, but that will do. We now have to escape. Luckily, our escape plan is nearby. We'll sneak out when the guards look the other way. The next mission will have us infiltrate a stronghold to free a prisoner. We'll start in the basement. Unlike most missions, the first costume in this one is very easy to get. What will be deadly here are the patrolling guards. The whole map is full of guards that won't recognize us, but several patrols will. The key here is to hide from them to reach the few different areas where we need to go. Our first objective will be to grab a warden outfit. We won't have to search for long to find it. We just have to get rid of that guard first, and then it's a piece of cake. Nobody really goes in that room, so we can leave the bodies there. Nobody will find them. There are 2 ways to complete that mission. Either we get the prisoner out, or if we cannot, we have to kill him. Obviously, killing him is much easier than getting him out, but we won't go the easy way. Depending on what we choose to do, there are 2 areas we'll visit, and since I play without a guide, I ended up doing both. We'll need different papers to see him, or have the guard escort him out of his cell. We'll start by the paper that will allow us to visit him. That officer there is the one holding it. Luckily, one of the soldiers with him do frequent trips to the bedroom, for whatever reason. We'll neutralize him there, and then deal with the 2 others. Pretty straightforward, for once. The other permit is slightly trickier to get. These 2 fellows are enjoying a nice evening close to the fire keep. Our problem is that soldier that keeps watch on them. He can easily recognize us. We have to be swift and lethal. We now have the paper to call a prisoner for interrogation. Sweet. We are not out of the woods yet though. We are now heading to the jails. We need to deliver these documents to either see the prisoner or have him interrogated. The prisoner will be escorted to a very specific office on the upper floor. It isn't far from our escape point, but we will have to clear the way. It is impossible to free the prisoner without killing a few soldiers there, as they are going to raise the alarm the second they see us moving around with him. One important thing is that I'm playing the game on normal difficulty, which means that the game could still be a lot harder than this. In harder difficulties, the enemies start suspecting you whenever you run, are more susceptible to noises, and there is even sometimes more of them. Basically, Death to Spies is hard at its core. It is possible to make it slightly easier by lowering the difficulty, but it will never be easy enough to be mainstream, and is more focused on a crowd of hardcore players. The reason for its difficulty are most definitely related to how restrictive the game is, because as you can see, the AI isn't anything special, and can be really dumb from time to time. Now that the hallways have been cleaned, let's escape with the prisoner. There are still 3 soldiers left in the stairs, but dealing with them won't be very complicated. For the most part, I'll screw up on the last one, and since I depleted all the ammo of my silenced pistol, I'll be forced to be loud. No enemies will hear that, and I'm quite happy about it. Note that this small skirmish cost me almost 75% of my health points. We can now go to the next mission, a pretty good one, if I might say. We'll be visiting a hotel to figure out the identity of a traitor. We won't be able to choose our equipment this time, but instead we'll have to retrieve it, as it is hidden somewhere in the building. Our only clue about the traitor is that he has to meet a diplomat to give him important documents. Luckily, we have a picture of said diplomat, and will therefore track him down in order to find our target. The two of them will meet in a library. The traitor will leave the documents on a shelf before the diplomat picks them up. Our objectives have not changed. The diplomat cannot be harmed at any cost, but we'll need to find a way to replace the documents in his possession by forged ones. As for the traitor, he will meet his demise in this hotel. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, and first start by finding our equipment, shall we? Our equipment is located in a room, in the middle of a hallway. The problem is that this hallway is only allowed for hotel staff, so we'll have to find a way to grab an outfit that gets us there. The best way I found was to sneak there and get it from that chef while he's alone in that room. While it isn't that often, that room allows us to interact with a stool that makes noise for us to pass. It wasn't necessary for me, but it's something I tend to appreciate. There are a few bothersome staff members in that hallway, and one of them can be dealt with in a pretty cool way. We'll wait for the chef to enter that freezer and lock the door behind him. It won't take long for him to drop dead. We also have to be careful to not stay there too long, or the same could happen to us. I suppose that freezer leads us straight to Antarctica. We're facing one last problem before we can get into that room. It is locked. While Semyon can open doors with his lockpick, there is a minigame, and it is time consuming, to say the least. I doubt that those folks around us will just stand idly watching us do the deed. To make it easier, someone will have to die. Someone with the keys to that door. We are now in possession of our revolver, fully loaded with 7 bullets. We'll soon need it, but not to get rid of the traitor. Getting rid of him will prove to be quite easy. We'll follow him sneakily as he enters his room and strangle him in front of his bedroom door. The gun will instead be used to help us find a way to the safe, where the documents are stashed. There are many guards in front of that door. I tried to distract them by throwing random items, but they didn't seem to budge. So I waited for the diplomat to leave his room, shot the 3 of them dead, lockpicked a room nearby, and piled up their bodies there. Then I went for the safe, replaced the documents, and left that hotel. Our next mission will be to assassinate 3 particularly nasty German officers. The latest assassination attempt against them failed. They are now more careful and there are patrols everywhere in the camp. We'll start the mission close to a group of 3 soldiers. Here, the smoke pot, an equipment that we didn't talk about yet, can be very useful to distract them and grab our first disguise. That's not the only thing that we'll be able to use. These fine fellows also had a bike that they won't need anymore. Getting inside the camp will be a piece of cake, but we'll meet a few different problems. Our targets are obviously scattered across the camp, and as you can imagine, there are way too many enemies everywhere. Our first target will be Henrik Knut. He is by far the easiest target to deal with. He will be busy kissing a woman in one of the houses of the camp. The only tricky thing is that we have to look out for guards seeing us through the windows. Other than that, killing both of them will be a simple task. Our second target is inside a building where no one can enter. I think we are supposed to poison him, as he is often seen eating with another soldier. Since I didn't find how to do that effectively, I instead went with another plan. To execute properly that plan, we need to get rid of that guard standing in front of the door, which isn't exactly hard to do, but there are patrols everywhere, and hiding his body requires an almost perfect timing to not be seen. There is a well not so far from here. This is where we'll hide him. Next step is killing our target, Wenk Bartels. Life must not have been easy on that one, and it's not about to get any better. Both his bodyguards will eventually find out about what's happening, and we'll have to deal with them too. Luckily, one of them has the survival instinct of a dodo, and therefore will make it easier for us. Our last target is Andreas Meyer-Mader. He is located in the camp's main building and is heavily guarded. Once again, we won't go with the usual way to kill him. Instead, we'll benefit from a bug making the guard in front of the door patrol somewhere else, for whatever reason. Upon entering the room, it won't take long for them to realize we have nothing to do here. But both Andreas Meyer-Mader and an officer will be gunned down before they can react properly. All that's left now is to get to our bike and leave the area. Next mission is called Project Y, and is also the only mission linked directly to real-world events, at least to my knowledge. We'll be tasked to infiltrate the Los Alamos National Laboratory to acquire documents related to Project Y. Basically, it is all linked to the Project Manhattan and the nuclear bombs. The events here differ a little bit from the real world though, as obviously, real life didn't see Semyon kill his way into the laboratory. Instead, it was another Soviet spy, called Klaus Fuchs, that leaked informations of the project to the USSR. Now, back to the game. This mission is actually one of the easiest we'll go through. It is a pretty small map, and our objectives are relatively straightforward, with little security. Which is kinda ironic since we're talking about stealing plans for the atomic bombs here. Our first goal will be to get a scientist's outfit, in order to photograph the plans in the office. Taking these pictures will nearly require a PhD in photography. We need to capture the entire thing, but not from too far away. Obviously, we do not have all the time in the world. The scientists are out for a bathroom break and will come back at any moment. We'll go deep into the root of the problem, the bathroom. There is a soldier shaving there. We'll subdue him and hide him in a toilet stall. Then, when the scientists finally come, we'll do the same. We can now finally come back to picture everything without being bothered. Everything but one drawing. That one is located in an office, with higher security. We'll manipulate some machine to get the scientists out of the room, and sneak by a guard to take that final picture. Seeing how quickly the scientists were running, I think what we modified wasn't lunchtime, but maybe something slightly more dangerous. We won't get much further without an officer's outfit, so we'll make a trap in the shower room. First, we'll sedate that scientist, then kill that guard, and finally, we'll get that officer as he opens up the door. We'll now have access to most areas, which is good, because we'll need that to be able to get the keys to both safes in order to complete our objectives. Professor Charles Brown has one of them. He's in the middle of that thing, I don't know how we could call that. Since he's all alone in there, it is pretty easy to get inside and subdue him. It won't be as easy to get out though. We entered in there with the help of an alarm, but we can't count on it anymore to move these guards around the stairs. My solution was to climb the fence and escape this way, which is a bug and shouldn't be possible, I think. That's one safe open. Now we'll have to deal with the Colonel Scott Baker to obtain the second key. We can find him close to a nuclear bomb prototype of some sort. Maybe Fat Man? It looks similar at least. Security here is pretty loose. Ultimately, we'll decide to simply kill everyone to obtain what we want. Now that both safes are open and that we have all the documents we need, let's get out of here and continue with our next mission. This time, we'll infiltrate an intelligence school to steal important files and execute two officers, Hans Himmel and Adolf Steinglitz. In this map, we'll start outside and we'll have to make our way inside the school, but the first thing we need is a disguise. It's not exactly an easy thing to do here, because there are no guards staying alone by themselves. In fact, we'll steal a disguise from a guard surrounded by other soldiers. Since they are busy working, they won't see anything. We'll use the truck behind to hide his body. Entering the school obviously won't be as easy as walking by the door. The school is completely closed, and the only way to enter is through tunnels. Many soldiers patrol these tunnels, and since so many of them were showing me their back, I simply couldn't resist. On the positive side, we won't be bothered when we have to get out of there. You probably have noticed, since it's been a while we've been going through the game, but Death to Spice isn't a particularly pretty game. It wasn't the case in 2007 when it was released, and it definitely did not get any better. Characters' faces in particular are pretty terrible, although I sincerely doubt anybody will pick a game like Death to Spice for its graphics. If you can ignore the obvious ugliness of its models, there are some things that are worth noting. The developers used a lot of gray to paint the environments and the characters. It's all quite depressing, but fits the mood of the game perfectly. After all, everything is happening during or shortly after World War II. If we were to make a comparison with Hitman, we can see that, for example, in Hitman 2, Silent Assassin, the world is much brighter and inviting than it is in Death to Spies. But while these two games are somewhat close gameplay-wise, they also have many differences. Death to Spies is a more hardcore experience, gameplay-wise, and as I said just before, happens in one of humankind's darkest time. The soundtrack, while good, is mostly there to serve the gameplay, and long moments of silence with environmental audio from the level are the norm, which isn't too surprising for a stealth game, but not always the case. Let's again take Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, for example. The soundtrack by Jasper Kidd is an absolute masterpiece, and every level has some kind of background music included, outside of the tutorial. What I'm trying to say isn't that Hitman 2 Silent Assassin is a better game, although it probably is. I'm simply stating difference in design that make the world of Death to Spies more grey and gloomy than something it took inspiration from. They are both similar games that do many things differently design-wise, and I have to say that I love that. Both have merit. Now, obviously, Death to Spies was released after Blood Money came out, and I could have compared the two of them, but I don't see this as competition. Death to Spies is closer to Hitman Codename 47 or Hitman 2 Silent Assassin than a game like Blood Money that reduces the difficulty to increase freedom for the player. Truth be told, Death to Spies is extremely restrictive, even more so than Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, so I thought it would be better to compare it to a game sharing more similarities, and not with the latest release for the sake of showing some kind of gap in the design philosophy of the two franchises. Now that I'm done digressing, let's go back to that mission, shall we? Inside the school, we'll trap an officer to steal his disguise and head for the documents, which is the most straightforward objective that we can do here. We'll head to the right wing of the building to slice the secretary's throat and throw our knife on the officer's back, then open the safe without anybody left to bother us. Since the officer had the key, we won't even have to lockpick it. There is a second area up the stairs that we have to visit. We'll first ambush two guards in the toilets, then slice another officer, and we are now done with the files. You probably can see it. We've already done similar objectives multiple times by now. That map, while new and interesting, always seems more like filler than anything to me. I always struggle with this one. It really feels like the most uninteresting level, even though it adds some interesting idea to the game. The most interesting one is that we'll be able to take on the clothes of a particular officer that has a planned meeting in an office with Adolf Steinglitz, one of our targets. As for Hans Himmel, our only remaining objective, we'll infiltrate his own office, wait for him, then shoot him and his bodyguard as they close the door. How sneaky of me to hide behind a desk. Another great thing that this level does is allowing us to kill both targets in quick succession. Calling for the meeting with Adolf Steinglitz, let us lockpick Hans Himmel's office door at the same time, which will give us the opportunity to kill both of them in the span of a few seconds. I personally love that. Time to get out of here. Next mission is a pain in the ass, to say bluntly. 8 snipers, each in a different nest, and a bridge to blow up. All of this in an area crawling with soldiers from every side. There is one positive thing though. We'll get a silent sniper. If it wasn't available in the previous missions, it is probably due to how much the AI struggled to deal with it. Look at this. The AI doesn't understand what's happening. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use the sniper this way in this mission, because there is way too many enemies, and even if we didn't miss a single bullet, we still wouldn't even kill half of them. And also because we'll need that weapon to kill a few important targets. Before aiming for the bridge, we'll first need a disguise, and there is exactly what we need in this building. Now, having a disguise here is simply gonna change things from being impossible to only very difficult. The problem in this area is that there are soldiers able to recognize us everywhere, or else I wouldn't be calling it very difficult. Another problem is that our silent sniper rifle makes us very suspicious to everyone, but that we cannot leave it behind easily either. The only real safe area is here, and it's only really secure if we crawl. it's also not perfect, as it's not possible to reach the other side of the bridge this way. So whatever we do, we'll have to get out of here and start killing people to make it easier for us. Every single person that can be killed without ringing the alarm, and if possible without spending any bullets from any of our guns, will be dealt with. The water is a perfect place to hide all the bodies of our victims, so we'll definitely use that. Our first target will be a sniper. He's constantly showing his head, and it feels like he's asking for it. The others won't be as easy though. While trying to sneak into one of the towers, I've learned the hard way that opening doors while sneaking rarely works. Unfortunately for us, it does make noise. We'll finally be able to infiltrate the first tower. On the first floor, we'll sneakily kill an officer and his secretary. The second floor has only one soldier, and it won't be very difficult to paint that window red. It was probably not the wisest decision, all things considered, but these soldiers are stashing dynamite here, and we'll definitely take some of it. After all, we have a bridge to blow up too. Last floor is the rooftop. As we climb the ladder, the sniper will notice us, but grabbing our pistol is faster than his rifle. He will ultimately die. From this spot, we can view another one of the snipers. Let's kill him, shall we? We currently killed 3 snipers, and I've been playing that mission for 30 minutes already. Unfortunately for us, the sniper rifle they carry doesn't have a silencer. I would prefer to not have the entire German army at my ass after every shot fired. They also do not have any ammunition outside of the magazine inside the gun that we unfortunately cannot take. I think it is to balance the mission, because as I said earlier, the sniper rifle is really not a balanced weapon, and I doubt the developers wanted us to have too many ammunition of it. Under the bridge, there are 2 easy targets for us. One will fall down the water by himself, as for the other, we'll help him a little. Killing these 2 guys will make it easier for us to enter the next tower. Once again, there will be 2 soldiers on the first floor, alongside a few more sticks of dynamite. The second floor will be different. There is nobody there. As for the sniper, he won't see us this time, and we'll deal with him without wasting any bullets. We're almost 50 minutes in, and we've killed half of the snipers. The hardest part of the mission remains. The security around the 4 other snipers is unfortunately much tighter. Each tower will now have some kind of barracks inside. That's not the only problem. Crossing the bridge will be a difficult task to do. The only way I found was to kill as many people as I could, without alerting anyone. We'll also start placing dynamite as we cross it. This mission is trial and error at its finest. I do not even want to imagine how hard it will be if I wasn't able to kill any of these guards. I probably did kill around a dozen guards currently, and I'm not even finished. The missions still remain insanely hard. The best way to realize this is to look at the map at all times. Now, I could probably have sneaked through all of this easier if I gave up my sniper rifle, but even then, I would have had one less tool to execute my targets, which isn't something I was willing to try, to be honest. Upon finally crossing the bridge, we'll head for another tower. I've currently played that level for 1 hour and 50 minutes, and I'm not even close to be done yet, but crossing the bridge was definitely the hardest part. Entering the next tower is definitely another highlight of the mission. Here, on the other side, not a single guard could take a piece without having at least 2 others to watch over him. It's definitely not gonna be easy to enter. The positive thing is that these towers have an underground tunnel linking them to each other's. Now, let's not be too enthusiastic. The tunnel only paired them up with another tower, so in theory, we still have to infiltrate 2 buildings. We'll find a breach here. That guard can be killed and hidden quickly under the walkway. Then it's just about entering the building at the right time to kill these 2 other guards. We're about to face a serious problem though. You see, I'm gunning down everyone like if I was born with the name of Clint Eastwood, but ammunition is getting sparse. To be completely honest with you, I just used the last 3 bullets of our pistol, and I can definitely tell you that there are a few guards left. Those few poor souls are sleeping, but getting to the 3 other buildings will prove to be challenging. Even the sniper is almost dry, and we might still need it. From now on, we'll have to do without the pistol. We'll use the choke cord for these 2 sleeping beauties. As we progress through the stairs, we'll notice our 5th target. Luckily for us, that one isn't very reactive, because I do not know how he could realistically not see us. Now back to the underground. I will eventually try to see if using a non-silenced gun is a good idea. Well, as you can see, it isn't. There is only one way to pass here, the knife. We have to be fast, precise, and especially hope that one of them never learn how to use a gun. And you know what? Jackpot. We're in. The second floor is held by an officer and his secretary. 5 bullets of sniper remaining. However, the secretary will be killed with a knife. Next floor is held by 3 soldiers. Even if I drop my sniper, every single one of them will recognize me. There isn't any way out. We have to get rid of all of them. It will take a few tries and a bit of luck, but ultimately, they'll all bite the dust. As you are probably used to right now, the sniper won't even be a problem. The hardest part is to reach them. Again, no sniper is showing its head, but that dude looking by the window is too good of a target for us not to shoot him. Wait. By breaking the window, the sniper finally show up to see what's happening. Well, that's too good to pass on. As luck will have it, it also works with the other sniper. We had 4 bullets left, 1 for each window and sniper. It was all luck. I didn't know before trying to kill that soldiers that it would alert the sniper, and therefore give us an opportunity. I sincerely think it would have been really tough to infiltrate another tower with only knives to rely on, and I'm glad it didn't come to this. We are not done yet though. We have to place the last dynamite charge left on top of the bridge to make it all collapse. It was impossible before due to the snipers, but now we're free to blow it all up. We now have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get out of the area. It might sound like a lot, but the stairs are already gonna take more than 45 seconds to climb down. We'll eventually flee far enough for the mission to be accomplished, and after 2 hours and 53 minutes, it is finally over. Next mission is also not a piece of cake, but compared to the one we just did, anything is easy. We have to rescue a prisoner, but this time not from a fortress, but a concentration camp. The first thing we're going to do, as always, is to grab the disguise of a guard. Entering the camp isn't exactly the hardest thing to do, once we know our way around a little. The most bothersome part of the mission is that triggering any alarm will lead to the execution of prisoners. And we are there to save one of them, so it will be kind of counterproductive. In this mission, we'll have access to pliers in order to cut through the fence, which is exactly what we're gonna do, as it's the most effective way to get closer to our first objective. That objective consists in sneaking inside one of the houses to steal a file giving us the whereabouts of the prisoner that we are here to save. Once inside, we'll simply wait that the officer and his bodyguards come back to murder them and finally do what we have to do. The hardest part of the mission will start now. 2 disguises allow us to escort the prisoner out, the doctor and the warden. You probably realized that I already have the doctor's disguise, and the reason to that is simply because I played this mission like a butcher, but not the good kind of butcher. Unfortunately for me, the warden's outfit is actually more efficient, as it allows us to move the prisoner more freely without the guards bothering us. So we'll quickly grab one. As you can see, killing people in front of the prisoners isn't a risky business. They aren't gonna rat us out, but they'll run everywhere like chickens instead. Whatever they do, I'm not so sure that the Germans are gonna be very happy to see 2 dead bodies laying in their dormitory, but I'll be long gone. The last thing we have to do is escape with the prisoner. Killing a traitor in an embassy, that's our objective for the last mission of the game. And that mission will be different from all the others. While all the previous maps used to be quite large, this one is really small. The level design here allows for much less freedom, and we are not allowed room for mistakes. Basically, it is a very restrictive mission with a focus on perfect timing. Now, I said it before, Death to Spice isn't exactly a game that offers as much freedom as the Hitman series, but that mission is much more linear than all the previous ones. We'll need 3 different disguises to reach 3 different floors in this map. Killing too many people will result in us failing the mission, so we're kinda forced to play by the book here. We'll start off by grabbing a soldier's outfit, which will allow us to access the basement. Our only opportunity lies in these toilets. The timing is really short, and we have to hang a sign on one of the toilet stalls in order to prevent someone from using them and bother us. Without this, it is actually impossible to have the time to neutralize the guard and hide the body. We can now head to the basement. The head of the archives possesses the key to the room where our weapons are hidden. He also possesses a costume that grants us access to the first floor. so we definitely want to be nice to him. The timing here is again very tight, as his body was already sleeping in a corner. One glance at the body would have been enough for him to turn on us. We can now fetch our equipment in a previously locked area, but outside of being a requirement to complete the mission, it won't be of any use to us. We are now almost at the end of the mission, and there is one difficult task left to do: grabbing the costume of an employee of the embassy. Everything will happen in this office, a little bit of talent and a lot of luck. The easiest part of the mission is to get rid of Volkov. We simply have to poison his food, and voila! All we have to do is wait and then get out of here. The ending of the game shows Semyon receiving the Order of the Red Banner and a message from his superiors congratulating him. All of this most likely after leaving the interrogation room. Semyon will go to bed, but not before putting a gun under his pillow. That night, someone will enter the room and attempt on Semyon's life. We'll hear one gunshot, but won't see who shot first. The game ends here. Since there is a sequel directly following the events of the first game, it is safe to assume that Semyon wasn't the one shot down. All in all, it is safe to say that Death to Spice isn't the kind of game to put in the hands of everybody. It is a tough game, but not only because the missions themselves are hard, but also because the controls often play against us. It is really difficult and takes a lot of practice to constantly be able to pull something simple, especially since one mistake can easily ruin everything. It offers many tools, but most of them aren't exactly what I would call effective. We even have the possibility to whistle in the game, something that I couldn't make use of. Since Death to Spice story is barebone at best, there isn't much to get from it, but it was still inspired from the reality for a few characters and events, such as the Project Manhattan, Viktor Abakumov that really did exist, or the portrait of Stalin in the last cutscene. Nothing in this game is outstanding. If I have to be honest, it's average at best. But all of that is also part of its charm. I had a lot of fun playing through every mission. Yes, the game doesn't hold your hand, and it is actually where it shines the most. It is incredibly hard and doesn't try to be nice with you. It is necessary to explore every level to complete the missions, even though I think that it will have gained from having less missions that are more polished. My biggest regret is that the levels have very little secrets or items to pick up, which is really lowering the replayability, but there is no denying that adding those would have probably reduced the difficulty, which seems to go against the developer's wish for the series.